your viewers, my constituents, we need to be grateful that we are in such an amazing state. We do. We have potentially 86,000 folks that are on SNAP benefits, and our state is providing millions of dollars. I've spoken with nonprofits recently that are considering what they need to do with respect to helping in this lapse. And at a minimum, let's just recognize how great that is that we have such a strong community with some semblance of with that it's actually focused on having rainy day funds when emergencies come up. The state should not, this isn't necessarily a program that they should be focused on, but we have a great group of network here in Utah that's going to step in. Hopefully they don't have to step in for long. And that's my point is we've got SNAP funding already ready to go. It's in a very simple continuing resolution that that should not be controversial, but in this world of politics and need for messaging, it does become controversial, and we should be able to kickstart this back up as soon as possible.
You work in Utah's first congressional district, has one of the highest percents of federal workers outside of the DC area when we're looking at Hill Air Force Base, the IRS, others who are working for TSA. Tell me a little bit about what you're hearing from constituents and what you've been seeing and doing in this break since the House has not been in session for weeks now.
I mean, imagine 31,000 employees, so consider 31,000 families, average of 4 to 5 people per family. That's a lot of folks that all of a sudden don't receive a paycheck just because Congress is at this impasse and to no fault of their own. So we obviously are very concerned. I'm hyper focused on these issues, particularly because we have a strong defense community here and we have 7,000 IRS employees. There's a ton of concern. There's folks that are now needing to go and rely on food banks and everything as the second pay period has been missed, coming up on a third pay period here soon. That's going to be extremely catastrophic, and it's why for 4.5 years I've always tried to encourage my colleagues to avoid a shutdown. And you've heard the term used a lot. I heard Senator John Thune use it again yesterday. Nobody wins in a shutdown. These arbitrary fights, particularly right now, the Democrats are taking us into a shutdown because they want to communicate a bunch this, that, and the other about health care, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the continuing resolution and the general appropriations funding. Oh,
We've got a little one. Hello.
we've got the Hulk. We've got the Hulk here.
I love it. Halloween here and working from home. Well, obviously we have all these families who are already feeling stressed that are government workers. We're going to have a whole nother layer of families that are feeling that stress as those SNAP benefits go away. As you mentioned, here in Utah, they'll be funding $500,000 per week as this goes on. For people who are at home right now, they're feeling stressed. The food banks are trying to figure out how much food they need and how long they can get by for. What are you hearing from your colleagues in Washington of whether or not this is a pinch point that's moving us closer to a resolution and an end, or if you see this ongoing for weeks?
Right. I'm hopeful this will wrap up and we'll be back to funding the government within a couple weeks. That is my gut. I'm not basing that off of anything from leadership or any of that. My gut is, given the parameters of why we're in this shutdown and what messaging that the Democrat leaders are trying to use this for, I feel like they'll accomplish what their messaging needs should be accomplished within the next week or two. Open enrollment starts right now, and Democrats are going to try to blame Republicans on increased insurance premiums. That's because at the end of this year, Democrat-led legislation that enhanced already baseline subsidies for Obamacare, the ACA, those expire. So Democrats in 2021 set an expiration date of 2025 on that enhanced version, and those expire at the end of this year. And when they expire, as they were set to do, insurance premiums could go up for several different cohorts of insurance recipients, and that message will be out there, and there'll be a blame game that goes on. I'm sitting here saying it was set to expire. They're going to expire, and that could cause some issues here. We're working on, that's something we can work on, but it has nothing to do with the appropriations process. So hopefully the messaging aspect can be accomplished, and we get back to this. I think it's a pretty nefarious reason to, give people such a scare and concern of either not receiving SNAP benefits and the like, or just not receiving a paycheck. It seems ridiculous to go this long into a shutdown where it has absolutely nothing to do with the actual bill, the funding at hand.
There's plenty of blame to go around. I know Republicans and Democrats both have their talking points on what is happening with the shutdown and what it'll take to end it. What are you doing specifically right now to make sure this ends as soon as possible? People will get back to their SNAP benefits and the government is back to being funded and people getting their paychecks.
Right. Uh, it's not an easy. So I'm a member of the House leadership team. Right. Speaker Johnson leading our conference. I'm a member of an 8-person leadership team. It is not an easy thing to do to get all Republicans on board for a funding bill like we did in late September. We passed a funding bill that extended all government funding without any lapse until November 21st, giving us ample time to finish the appropriations process. And we were able to accomplish that. So in the House, Republicans have passed the bill that fully funds everything, that sets us up for success. And they voted that down 13 times in the Senate. So Senate Democrat leadership has encouraged their members to vote that down 13 times. A few have broken ranks, and we just need 5 more to break ranks. Or you need Senator Schumer to say, hey, I've got my messaging point across. I'm going to let my cadre of senators sort of vote their conscience, because I know there's at least 5 Senate Democrats that are kind of fed up with this, and I'm hopeful they can do that. So my job was to get the funding bill done. We did. We got it done. We passed it over to the Senate, and hopefully that 5 more senators can come on board. I don't have a lot of influence over 5 Democrat senators. I don't interact much with them, but I'm hopeful that common sense can take over and we can get this done here in the next couple weeks.
I think most people, when they elect, whether they're representatives or they're senators, they believe when they send them to Washington that on every vote they'll be voting their conscience. But we do see that Republican leadership or Democrat leadership basically kind of holds them to not voting or doing what they want. So how do we get to a point where people really do just get elected and they're representing the people of Utah or whatever their state is and making that vote and trying to do what's best for their state? Because I think that's where we get to these problems where we're locked up and we can't make decisions and people aren't voting their conscience.
So former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, when I first joined Congress, he sat all the freshmen down and almost even told me this in person too. And I had several conversations with him. He said, as the House leader, the GOP leader, I will always commit to this. 1, you need to vote your conscience. You need to vote your district. Just don't ever surprise me. And don't ever surprise me. And I loved that leadership because I felt when I was in the minority in my first term, I didn't always vote alongside those lines. And given now that I'm representing 31,000 federal workers, one of the most important Air Force bases in our country's national security apparatus, an incredibly productive IRS processing facility, the Forest Service. There's a lot in the first district that is focused on this. Like I've differed on many type of continuing resolutions and appropriations bills because I'm voting my district, and I know conscience-wise, like, okay, this is not the thing that's driving our debt. Disingenuous voices, oftentimes from my side, will communicate that this is what's driving our debt. That's not the case, and I was willing to kind of take tough votes. And I wish that we need 5 more senators on the Democrat side to take tough votes. This was something that Mitch McConnell did extremely well, right? So he was always able to build a coalition and let them vote their conscience. Democrats have a really strong hold. I've seen it from Speaker Pelosi, and we're seeing it from Chuck Schumer right now, that they have a very strong hold. I don't know if it's major fundraising dollars or they're tying committee assignments to it. We will look at someone's voting record from leadership or steering and say, hey, is this person a part of the team? Are they team players? Do they get it? They get the big picture. All that comes into consideration. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you got to let people break ranks and do what's best for their district. Because I can assure you, the majority of people in Georgia, that they don't want this, but their Senator John Ossoff is holding this hostage right now. And you could go to the Nevada Senate. Nevada, one of them jumped over to the side of funding. The other didn't. Maine, that person did because that's kind of a 50-50 state. Sometimes politics is a good motivator, but that's just been my experience where I'm allowed to vote my conscience in my district. Just don't surprise your leadership. I thought that was always a funny line. I'm hopeful that Schumer starts doing that in the next couple weeks.
Speaking of the next couple of weeks, what would you say to people who are home that are not hearing the conversations you are in the halls of Congress or talking to other representatives? What would you say to them if they're worried about making sure that they get food to feed their families right now, or even families who are like, hey, I'm fine with groceries, but I'm going to be traveling over Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks. Do I need to cancel my plans? Are more and more people going to be calling in sick so you can't fly and there's going to be more problems at the airports? What do you say to them?
Well, first off, I have not seen anything that gives me major concern or even slight concern that we would not honor the traditional back pay experience. If there is a shutdown, folks will get their back pay. They've been working or in furlough situation. Um, that I'm confident we can live up to. The second piece is, the here and now is find areas in your community that can support you. There is a lot out there. Our website has resources available. I don't want people to not be able to spend time with family over Thanksgiving. It's a huge part of who we are. It's key to our psyche and our ability to connect with family. Um, know that the work that you've done will be honored, and eh, I would be I would be it would I have confidence that we can get this done. I think some of the things are turning. Unions are out there against Democrats and saying, hey, fund this bill. The Washington Post, traditionally a left-leaning news agency, has come out and said, you can negotiate all these things. You can keep working on all these things, but get the CR, get the funding of the government handled. They're apples and oranges. So left-leaning groups are now turning and saying, hey, the Republicans are doing the right thing here. That pressure, I think, builds in the next couple of weeks, and I'm confident that pressures that builds, that could be a tipping point. And I want people to have an amazing holiday season, and they definitely deserved it.
Once we get through these next few weeks, which may still be difficult, do you have any ways to fix this in the future? Because I think the American people are getting sick of these fiscal cliffs we keep getting to, and every time you get to the fall, you're like, okay, is there going to be a shutdown or not? It gets frustrating at some point where we're like, okay, we all balance our budgets, Congress needs to do the same.
It's a fascinating, important question. I love Senator Kennedy, or former state senator, but now Congressman Kennedy's bill, and there's been several like that, and I have some that are very similar as well. Uh, we should just we should take it off the table. The, coming to an agreement on appropriations bills or a CR is a bipartisan exercise. So it already requires some level of collaborative discussion and compromise. And so the fact that that already exists, you don't need that extra leverage point with regards to a funding deadline. Like I had mentioned, what the Democrats are holding this CR, they're blocking this CR on, again, has nothing to do with the 12 appropriations bills that are in the CR. It has everything to do with a healthcare cost messaging opportunity. Um, and at the core, that it's disingenuous, but that's Congress, right, to some degree. So if we could do some things like that where it take off the table, it's great. Look, you have a debt ceiling issue. So every once in a while, you'll have a debt ceiling come up. I actually think that's healthy leverage. So we were in the minority. We were the House majority, but we had, the Senate and the White House were under Democrat control. That moment, that debt ceiling that we did a couple Junes ago was an incredible opportunity to kind of make some changes that ultimately both sides agreed on, capping some spending, permitting reform. It created a really healthy conversation because it was always about the debt ceiling. This healthcare piece that the Democrats are messaging on right now has nothing to do with the CR, and so it's a bad leverage item that I mentioned before. So I would love to be able to take it off the table and just do automatic extension of funding at the current level if you don't have it finalized on time.
Before I let you go, anything else you would want people back here in your district in Utah and across the state to know?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like I've been presented with the opportunity numerous times, hey, should we shut the government down? And the conversations that were always had within my Republican House colleagues were, A, okay, what is our fight? What's the thing that we're going to go into a shutdown for? What's going to take us into a shutdown? And what are we going to do to get out of a shutdown? It's easy to go into a shutdown, but having the sense for what is going to be needed to come out of a shutdown in a successful, you know, stance, negotiated position, like it's incredibly murky. And that's what we're in right now. I think a lot of Democrats have said, "Hey, it's easy to go into a shutdown because we can say we're, combating the Trump administration or we're going to fight for this healthcare stuff." But there's no real out for them here. We're not going to fix healthcare through 12 appropriations bills. It's just not sensical. And so we were always in the world of, hey, let's be logical about this. If we're going to go on a shutdown, let's make sure we know how we're going to get out of a shutdown and what the ultimate negotiating point is. And I really don't feel like that is something that's been very well thought through in this moment, and why we avoided doing it for 4.5 years, because the individual that's lives in Clinton, Utah, that is a contractor in the Department of Defense, working as and as a civilian, providing for his family. He's got Little League fees to pay now. He's trying to get to the grocery store, and they're not able to know when their next paycheck comes. Like it's ridiculous, and it should not be what we put American citizens through.